If the girl you cheat on value your happiness at $1,000, then guess what? It'll stay at $1,000 as dictated by supply and demand. Alright, insert YouTube introduction here, what it is, what's good, and what's poppin'. So today I am going to be talking about why you will not get a PlayStation 5 in your hands before the holiday season. Now, what really inspired me to make this video is just seeing a lot of poor takes from these gaming YouTubers. I watched one video talking about scalpers. YouTube recommended me more with these clickbait titles and thumbnails, and they got me. I clicked and I just saw some hot takes, some poor takes, and I just thought I'd offer my perspective from someone who has been an avid gamer for a very long time. I've had the PlayStation 2, the Xbox 360, and then I converted to the PC Master Race. But that's a discussion for later. But I'm also a sneaker enthusiast. I've been reselling and collecting sneakers for a very long time, and if you can't tell, if you're just on one side and not the other, you might not recognize the parallels here. With every generation of new consoles, it's met with high demand and long lines. What you have been seeing are tents, chairs, even a mattress, while online trying to get your hands on this console. I could easily be talking about the sneaker community, and what you see with the sneaker community when it comes to this high demand is reselling. And the gaming community prefers to use the S slur, but I'd rather not call myself a scalper. A quick look on StockX and you'll see that these highly coveted items are being sold well above the retail price. In fact, that's one of the data points that StockX provides to people interested in the item, whether they're buying it or reselling it. With these high demand products dropping every so often, you're going to see people who will try all that they can do to get as many pairs as possible, and naturally comes sneaker botting. And sneaker botting became incredibly lucrative in early 2020 when the software keys that you had previously owned met the high demand of the actual sneaker itself. A personal bot of mine that was retailing for $400 with a market value of $250 actually ballooned up to $2,500 at its peak. Now it's roughly around $2,000. So that's what we saw, and with the pandemic, a lot of inventory actually moved to online stores, which are more susceptible to botting. With the sneaker botting blowing up, so has the cook groups, which are Discord servers that help you learn how to use a bot, as well as notify you on the next big drop. Some cook groups specialize in sneakers, some have everything such as US minted coins, trading cards. Some have even blossomed to sneaker bot investing, where you treat them like assets, right? You buy this and next week it goes up 500, you sell it again. Anything and everything has become a little specialty, and that is happening in our little bubble. So now I hope you see the parallels between the sneakers and the next generation consoles, and understand why the sneaker community and the gaming community had their paths converge. So now comes the PlayStation 5 release, and before I really get into it, I just want to point out that when I had the Xbox 360, Sony and PlayStation were the whacker console, right? Xbox was the baddest bitch on the block. Sony had like their data breaches, and then the PlayStation servers were down for like 10 days at one point. It was insane, and now it seems to me that you're a goober if you have an Xbox, but that's just what I'm seeing right now. So pre-orders opened on September 12th, and they were a walk in the park. It felt like walking into a store to pick up a console. I had actually pre-ordered 5 consoles through Walmart, GameStop, and Amazon. Again, very easy, available throughout the day, and a lot of people were pretty quiet until they sold out near the end of the day, and the pitchforks and tiki torches came out, and people were freaking out on Twitter saying this launch was botched, there was no heads up. That was frankly not true. I saw the advertisements for it. I didn't even put a calendar invite to it. I just saw, oh, okay, on Twitter, they're available now. Let me just buy a few, right? Pre-order a few. And luckily for me, that panned out pretty well. And a lot of people just simply missed out from not paying attention. A month later, on October 5th, eBay allowed pre-orders to be listed on their website, and immediately you saw people paying $800 to $900 for the pre-orders, right? They were not even in hand yet. They were willing to pay that amount a month before the official release, which was insane. And you could tell if you had a pulse on what was going on, you knew that this was going to be insane. That prediction turned out to be completely accurate, as once the botting community saw the high profit returns on the PlayStation 5s, they used their Walmart bots, their Best Buy bots to take up most of the stock. And if you went manual this time, it was not a walk in the park, it was a lot tougher. And once it sold out again this time, the prices continued to skyrocket even more. Now we get to why I made the video in the first place. I've seen a lot of misconceptions online, as well as YouTubers with their not so nuanced takes. The terminology seemed to confuse YouTubers such as Yongye as to why they're saying feasting, and if you really break it down, it's kind of silly. For cook groups, when you cook a lot, you feast, and cooking just simply means getting your hands on multiple pairs or units of the PlayStation. There was also confusion as to how many cook groups were promoting the fact that they had users going manual and getting hundreds and hundreds of systems, and that's not too far from reality, because a lot of cook groups not only provided information on how to bot it, but also how to get it manually, such as using add to cart links, such as let me break that down. Add to cart links allows you to add a product immediately to your cart and then brings you to the checkout page, skipping a crucial step, especially when the site is bugging out and you can't even add to cart. This saves you a lot of time and gives you a competitive advantage without using a bot. Cook groups also provided a lot of knowledge as to when things were dropping, whether they were shock drops or planned drops, from like Walmart, who did a 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m. drop. All the cook groups gave users information to best prepare for it. It wasn't a stumble upon kind of situation. You just were ready and more prepared than most people who just wished they got a console. There were other obstacles as well, as soon as stock went live, it seemingly went out of stock immediately. And if you're new to high demand releases, you're gonna think, wow, bots took everything, I'm going to quit now. But if you're familiar with sneakers, you realize that every release is like this. You have to add to cart 100 times, and then you have to try checkout 100 times with 5 different payment methods. There's too much traffic for the site to handle, as again, this is an unprecedented amount of traffic for most sites, especially for these gaming retailers that only do this once every 8 years. So that's what you're dealing with. And if you're not persevering through the fail to add to cart, you might just think, okay, I've lost to these bots, I'm helpless. No, you're just not used to it, and frankly, you just have to try harder. Again, we're so used to this. We have this trauma from sneakers, from Yeezy Supply. So we know that, hey, once it says out of stock, it's not really out of stock. You just got to keep trying. A lot of retailers were also releasing their consoles in waves, whether announced or not. If they said that they were dropping at 4 and it loaded out of stock at 4, they may have dropped at 401, then 405, then 410, as to handle the vast amount of transactions and not oversell. Kohl's oversold and had to do a lot of chargebacks, but the people that got a chargeback were still able to get the promotional Kohl's cash, so that was a big plus for them. So YouTube and their lovely algorithm introduced me to videos from RGT85 and Spawnwave with the clickbait title that scalpers are panicking, and I thought, wait, this is so far from the reality that I'm in, let's see what they're saying. And they said that scalpers are panicking, they have too much inventory and need to unload, and they're scared. And that is clear fear mongering and simply just them lying to their viewers or trying to make money with clickbait, because that is what gamers want to hear, but simply that's just not the reality of the situation. I have seen people in the reselling community cashing out people with consoles for $850 for the Blu-ray and $750 for the digital, with the prospects of being able to flip that for even more. And that's still happening, right? And to say that scalpers are panicking, it's fundamentally false, but also the fact that they're saying it because they had another YouTuber say, hey, I got this funky email saying I need a 10-second ad to sell my PlayStation 5s, does not inherently say that they're having trouble unloading, but they just want to advertise to them directly as opposed to competing with everyone else in the market. It's simple branding. It's not the fact that, oh, I'm panicking, so let me spend money to put an ad. No, that's just dumb. So that is what really drew me to make that video. This whole little bit made me make a whole fucking, I don't know how long this video will be. It's probably like 15 minutes, but it blows my mind that these guys have such poor takes. And you could really just do research. Look at the sales on StockX. Look at the sales on eBay. Look at the sales on OfferUp. There's so many avenues for these PlayStation 5s to be unloaded. You can even just check the bids on StockX. There's hundreds of them within $1 apart, and they can easily unload for massive amounts of profit. When should resellers be scared? When the break-even price is met, and with seller fees being, let's say, 12.5% for a beginner, and these resellers are not beginners, you're going to need to sell the unit for $616 if you paid $545 for them. Using that $545 number is also incredibly generous to the numbers, as a lot of people are sure they're paying that on paper, or if they're in Delaware, pay no sales tax, or being based in Delaware and pay no sales tax. But there's also using eBay to get 5% back, using an Amazon credit card on Amazon to get your 5% back, as well as using a Chase Freedom or Freedom Flex to get 5% back on Walmart and PayPal. There's just so many avenues for you to really take advantage of and improve your margins that I'm sure scalpers are not panicking at all. And I'll give SpawnWave some credit. He did say his prediction was that prices will go down after the holiday season. Bold prediction. Wow, as if nobody thought of that. Like, of course, demand will go down after the holiday season. The true controversy really comes down to scalping, or reselling, as I like to gently put it. It is charging a premium over what is the retail price, and simply put, people are just angry at supply and demand in the aftermarket. Supply and demand is a core economic principle, and I won't get too into it, but I'll demonstrate a little bit. Yes, I was a finance major. You're welcome for that lesson. But really, so long as there is heavy demand, prices will unlikely move. If parents price their children's happiness on Christmas morning at $1,000, guess what? The system will be sold for $1,000. If the girl you cheat on value your happiness at $1,000, then guess what? It'll stay at $1,000 as dictated by supply and demand. It is really what it boils down to. You alone with your comment of 35 likes saying be patient, show it to the scalpers, is not going to change market conditions, as again the holiday season is upon us. One thing that really confuses me is that if you did have your console in hand and you want to keep it long term, why would you not sell it now so that you would benefit from market conditions at the moment? You're going to play Spider-Man either way, but you can do so in a year with more money in your pocket now. You can delay that gratification and still be happy. And if you really want to stick it to those dirty resellers, then you can also just undercut them. One thing resellers hate, undercutting, right? When you list something on StockX for $300 and they go $299 on you, then you think like, wow, what an asshole. So you go $298 and someone went $295, then $290, right? That's how you create panic in the market, and that's how you can really fuck with resellers. But that's only if you have the console in hand. But I'm saying if you do have it in hand, take your profit, man. Like that's just me. Delay your gratification. But I'm not here to do a personal finance lesson. Just to play both sides, I've seen some bad takes from the resellers as well. The YouTubers that I mentioned before also responded to some of their comments. Some saying, I am Robin Hood, I'm doing things for the greater good. But let's be real. You are not Robin Hood. Robin Hood was a thief. You're not a thief. You're just an opportunist, and that's that. If anything, some might even list you as a small business. But what I really enjoy that came out of all this are, of course, the memes. I love that the internet has provided a way for people to channel their vitriol into comedy. And whether you're pro scalper or not, I feel like I've enjoyed both sides. I've learned the price of black Air Force Ones. I've learned that people have been trolling resellers by getting them all to meet up in the same parking lot at the same time. That's pretty funny inherently. As a reseller, I still think it's funny. What does suck is doxing. I don't think I'm ever pro doxing, like trying to release private information of a lot of people. Sure, you're posting 80 PS5s in front of your garage doesn't mean you deserve to get robbed. I think that's really silly. That's victim blaming. That's just saying, look at what she's wearing. And hey, if you believe that, less power to you, really. But let's move on from that tangent. I've seen some mad suggestions with regards to how to fix this. Like, I've seen comments saying use captchas, and from a sneaker community standpoint, that's laughable. That is laughable because captchas are so easily harvested and solved that anyone, like a fucking monkey, can solve the crosswalks, the traffic lights. I can't solve the hills, though. I'll give them that. But captchas are no obstacle. In fact, it might just slow down people that are trying to do it themselves manually. SMS verification, that's a good one, but at the same time, there are apps such as Text Now that will simply just give you free numbers. And it might help, but I don't think so as much. I think a one per household rule is also silly, as many in the sneaker community know how to alter their addresses in a way where it can bypass most protections. It's a little too late to retroactively change anything, but with the upcoming waves of restocks, I feel like gaming companies can do online raffles for in-person pickup, and instead of getting them to all come at like a 12 a.m. midnight or whatever at opening, spread out the time so that people can practice safe social distancing and the playing field is a little bit more level. Another way to level the playing field is give people a trivia question during a checkout. I feel like that has previously confused some bots before, so it'll make people that are going manual have a better chance. A third option, and this is more unfair actually, is give the paying subscribers of Sony PlayStation a exclusive access, right? If they're already a paying customer, then they're likely to be more loyal if you give them an access to a machine that they can get for not only retail, but maybe they can flip it too, right? So a lot of things can happen to give the gamers and not the scalpers a better chance. Again, this is me having this attempt at objectivity when it comes to this, but yeah, the gaming companies are just not ready for just strictly online retail at this point. So this has all been very strange with this next generation coming out, and I've had some weird occurrences too. Like, I've had my kindergarten teacher message me on Instagram. She slid into my DM saying, "Hey, I heard you had the hookup for PlayStation 5s. I need one for my son." And at that point, I had already sold everything, but that was just not something I had ever expected. 2020 has been full of surprises, and I'm sure there will be more for this final month. So as 2020 concludes, I am going to conclude this video by saying that you will likely not get a PlayStation 5 for retail without using additional resources. And that is just unfortunate if you really wanted one for Christmas. You're not going to get it for retail because from what I can see in the botting community is that we're going to still go for every single restock leading up to the holiday season and maybe even past it, as long as, again, market conditions, right? So that is just what I mean from this title of the video. Some helpful tips, really. Follow people on Twitter that share the links immediately. There are some Twitter accounts that are called like PlayStation 5 links. There are ones that I follow like Sneaker Twitter and Soul Retriever. I have no affiliation with them, but they were the ones that alerted me for the September pre-order. So my advice is, if you're going to spend $1,000, build a computer. You'll get a lot more use out of it and still play blockbuster games. And I guess the first thing you really need is a GPU. Maybe you can get your hands on a 3080. Oh shit.